people, this is your girl Nikki, and welcome to another episode of Nikki's Savory Vegan Eats. Okay, so I have a question for you guys. How many of you guys actually like to eat mushrooms? Well, I, for one, did not like eating mushrooms up until 7 months ago when I recently became vegan. Prior to becoming vegan, I just didn't like mushrooms. Call it mind over matter, but mushrooms just seemed pretty gross to me. But since I became vegan 7 months ago, I absolutely love eating mushrooms. So did you know that there was actually about 20 different types of mushrooms? You have button mushrooms, then there's cremini mushrooms, you have your portobello mushrooms, which you can actually make into like nice little sauteed steak, if you will. There's oyster mushrooms, in which I absolutely love making new dishes out of. And then you have king oyster mushrooms, which are similar to regular oyster mushrooms, but king oyster mushrooms have a tendency to grow on top of a thick white stem. And then you have chanterelle mushrooms, which actually brings on a nice distinctive yellow color. They actually have a nice sweet and pepper flavor taste to them, if you will. And as you can see, I can go on and on and on about the different type of mushrooms that are out there. But for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to be making air-fried oyster mushrooms that takes on the flavor of chicken, as well as making some creamy, cheesy grits. Ooh, doesn't that sound yummy, you guys? With a couple of sprinkles of sauteed spinach as well, just to add a little greenery to the dish. So let's go ahead and get it in as I show you how to make my air-fried oyster mushrooms and savory cheesy grits with sprinkles of spinach on top. Okay, so here are my oyster mushrooms. I have plenty more where this comes from. So with my oyster mushrooms, I wanted to just point out a few things to you. First and foremost, many people think about mushrooms and wonder, are they really edible to eat because they have some type of fungi on them? Well, oyster mushrooms are indeed an edible fungi. Did you know that oyster mushrooms are known to be the most widely consumed mushrooms in the world? Part of where oyster mushrooms get their name from is that they actually take on the color of raw oysters. Oyster mushrooms typically take on the color of a lightish gray or grayish brown. But did you also know that oyster mushrooms have several colors? They also come in pink and yellow. Oyster mushrooms are one of the most easiest type of mushrooms to grow due to their fastest growth and their tolerance for their growing conditions. And even many commercial farmers have the tendency to grow oyster mushrooms all year round indoor. So to go ahead and prepare out the air-fried oyster mushrooms, first I'm going to go ahead and prep out my buttermilk. You can use whatever type of buttermilk that you see fit, but I decided I wanted to use my unsweetened almond milk. This is a vanilla unsweetened almond milk. It's not going to taste like vanilla in the buttermilk, but if you want to make a vegan buttermilk, I'm going to show you how. So what I have here is 1.5 cups of unsweetened almond milk. In addition to that, I'm going to take 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, and I'm going to simply just pour it inside of my buttermilk. Next, I'm going to just simply whisk this ever so gently, and then I'm going to let it actually sit for about a minute or two to allow the buttermilk to thicken just a little bit. So now I'm going to take my clean mushrooms and I place them in a larger bowl. What I'm going to do now is just simply toss them together with the buttermilk. And again, my buttermilk just simply consists of unsweetened almond milk as well as some lemon juice. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and prepare out my breading. I'm going to use a large bowl to go ahead and do so. So the first thing I'm going to use is 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Next, I'm going to use my Louisiana seasoned crispy chicken fried batter mix. And this batter actually comes with the spicy, so you can look for the one without it. Then I'm going to actually use some smoky turmeric. This is made by Spice Hunter, and what I like about this personally is not only does it include your regular seasonings like your onion powder and your garlic powder and cumin, but it also has a nice ground ancho chili powder as well. So I'm going to take a few sprinkles of this. So next I'm going to simply just mix out my dry batter together with my flour as well as my Louisiana chicken fried seasoning as well as my smoky turmeric, and it actually smells absolutely amazing, you guys. I'm going to turn on my air fryer, and then I'm going to go ahead and preheat it at 375 for about 15 minutes. It's going to preheat, and then I'm going to place my mushrooms inside. So next, what I'm going to simply do is take out my mushrooms after soaking them, and then I'm going to just simply take them here and put them in the bowl for the breading, and then I'm going to double dip them. Next, I'm going to take my oyster mushrooms, and I'm just going to simply make sure that they're breaded evenly proportioned and bread them very well. Now I'm going to repeat the process by simply dipping my oyster mushrooms back into their batter and then into the breading for one final touch. Okay, so now that I've preheated my air fryer at 375 degrees for 15 minutes, now I'm going to simply just take my aluminum foil. I put aluminum foil already in here, and I'm going to take some vegetable oil, okay, and use that to spray it and put it at the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to take my oyster mushrooms and place them inside of my air fryer. I'm going to put in about 5 to 6 at a time to ensure that they cook all the way through. You don't want to put too many oyster mushrooms in your air fryer at once because they may not necessarily cook all the way through. I'm going to just take a little bit more vegetable oil and just spray it over like so. That's what it's going to look like before it goes in the air fryer. And now I'm going to just simply place it in the air fryer. I'm going to put it at 375 again, and then this time I'm going to just put it on for about 8 minutes and hit start and let it go ahead and just test it out. So this is what my oyster mushrooms look like after cooking them for 8 minutes in my air fryer. Now I'm going to simply just take them and I'm going to turn them over so that I can cook them evenly on the other side as well. Spray them again with some vegetable oil. And I'm going to simply put them back in the air fryer, and I'm going to make sure that I actually air fry them for another 8 minutes. You guys, look at these beautiful golden brown air fried oyster mushrooms. I'm not even finished cooking yet, and look how beautiful they came out. Okay, so I have a little rule sometimes that I feel like you have to be able to test out your food before you actually can present to everybody else. So seeing as how I have not eaten anything all day, you guys, and I am a fan of my air fried oyster mushrooms, I'm gonna go ahead and just take a quick little taste test and let you know in advance before the whole dish comes together how it actually came out. You guys, I haven't eaten anything all day, so please don't persecute me for trying my food before I complete the recipe. I just gotta go ahead and let you guys know how it tastes. Look at the air fried oyster mushrooms. Doesn't it look beautiful? It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Here we go. Oh my gosh, you guys, that air fried oyster mushroom was fire. Fire. Do you hear what I say? It was fire. Stay tuned for the rest of the recipe. So to prepare out my cheesy grits, I'm going to add 1 bowl of low sodium veggie broth to a pot. Allow it to come to a boil for a few minutes. Add 1 cup of yellow polenta or grits. Stir them really well. I'm going to add some vegan cream cheese as well as vegan cheddar cheese and stir really well. Then I'm going to add my favorite seasonings, which are some smoky turmeric, black pepper, and fresh parsley to the mix as well. So I'm going to make a sage mushroom jam to add to my cheesy grits by adding some olive oil and fresh garlic to a pan, sauteing it with some fresh onions, bell peppers, and red peppers, as well as some oyster mushrooms, and to stir it for a few minutes until it's nice and brown. Then I'm going to add some fresh sage and basil to the mix as well. In addition, I'm going to add some rice wine, as well as some liquid smoke to my jam. To finish out my sage mushroom jam, I'm going to sprinkle some cornstarch to stretch out my sauce, add a little vegan butter for some extra flavor, as well as sprinkle out some fresh parsley to my jam. All right, you guys, so I am ready to show you my air-fried oyster mushrooms with cheesy grits, and I made a sage mushroom jam sauce. Are you guys ready? You guys, look at this savory comfort dish. Oh my gosh, do you see this? Oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful creation that I don't even want to eat on it. There's a whole lot of savory goodness going on right here. Oh my gosh. Let me just tell you guys what I got going on in here. I have some succulent, savory, air-fried oyster mushrooms. I have my cheesy grits. You guys can see right here from the yellow, my cheesy grits. Then I garnished it with a little sauteed spinach as well. You can see that without. And on top, you guys, this is my homemade sage mushroom jam sauce that I just truly whipped up together. No recipe whatsoever. Went off of pure instinct, and I sprinkled it out with some fresh Italian parsley, you guys. All right, I'm gonna go all in and try out my cheesy grits first. I'm gonna get some of these cheesy grits as well as some of my sage mushroom jam sauce and the spinach. You guys see that color? Oh my gosh, here we go. Oh my freaking goodness. This is the bomb. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. So much flavor. Can you guys believe that this is an all vegan dish right here? Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and try out one of my oyster mushrooms once again with all of the garnishes on top. I'm just gonna pick it up, you guys. You see that? This is nothing but an air-fried oyster mushroom. Look like chicken, doesn't it? Looks just like chicken. Here we go. Ooh, and it has a little kick there too. Quick and easy and savory. Until then, you lovely people, I should talk to you later.